house folks are living. And we've got these situations where folks are making a little bit of money, but because of bad history, because of any kind of criminal involvement, they're almost barred locally from getting housed. And I think there's a lot that can be done at the state level, but honestly, at that local level, I can't tell you, and without naming names, I mean, we have communities actively one-way bus ticketing, and one community one-way airplane ticketing folks out. Okay, so and I've had some of these communities finally fess up to do this, but again, when you think about folks cycling through the systems and locally people saying, well, we have a wait list, we have a wait list, we have a wait list, we're not going to prioritize those folks who are literally without shelter, who are actively psychotic at the shopping mall, who are in our jails. So again, while we talk about the big picture of the state, I can't say enough about the localities and some of their responsibilities in addressing their citizens. And one last thing I would say that I find rather outrageous is when we do the point in time and we do a count of folks who are experiencing homelessness, we have counties that don't even have enough shelter beds, never mind affordable housing and permanent supportive housing. So the fact that communities aren't even willing to shelter their most vulnerable citizens, to me, is shameful. And so how we get communities to talk about that at the local level, as well as the state leadership talking about it, it's almost like we've got to do a squeeze from community level, state level, coming in between, because I can't tell you the barriers at the local levels, pretty significant, and we have dismissed some of them in ways to say it's the federal government that says we can't house felons in public housing and so forth.
Could you speak to Mayor Hickenlooper's, then Mayor, initiative to eliminate homelessness in Denver, why that proved to be unrealistic?
Well, it wasn't working for the mayor, but Chris could maybe.
Yeah, if you've been around with Denver's Road Home and followed that story, Denver's Road Home, we're the organization that stewards the 10-year plan, and I've worked in either a direct service provider capacity or now at Human Services and Road Home as the administration for a good part of it. And you trace that history of it, and it's that vision. End homelessness, you've always seen these kind of like reifications of it, like end homelessness to like end chronic homelessness to end chronic homelessness as we know it, you know. And like, I mean, the economic collapse had a large part to do with kind of reframing and refocusing that. I mean, an organization like Denver's Road Home can't reverse poverty itself, you know. We can't slow that down. Our dollars aren't strong enough, and our strategy isn't necessarily strong enough to turn that around. I think we enjoyed at the beginning of that time a different kind of climate or plan when homelessness was a new idea to people, so there was a lot of funding there for like new innovative approaches to it. It's not that climate anymore. So a lot of what we had set up in the beginning, we're now kind of sustaining along, which is like decreased our ability to fund new innovations or new programs to reach out to 2,600 students in our school system. We're not really doing that necessarily very well because we don't have room in our budget to do that. But a lot has been done with Road Home. Like, I don't think it's necessarily failed. I think we have a public that's very conversant with a locality, to put it in your terms, that's very, very knowledgeable and conversant with ideas about homelessness and willing to continue to learn. They're getting tired too, though, and that's the regional effects, I think, play a lot into that in terms of like we both celebrate the great system that we made in Denver, but we also kind of see ourselves as victims of that success in a little bit because we're a step out ahead of some other communities that may be busing people here, you know, and then it grows and becomes a burden on the Denver taxpayer. So we, as an organization, I think we need to face that and work with our partners across the state and statewide to kind of manage or mitigate that and kind of try to pull other localities along with us rather than kind of absorbing what they don't have. So the more awareness that we can spread, the more conversant we can make people, you know, statewide or direct neighbors about these trends, the better I think we'll all be to do that. So.
I wonder what the public, what the plan for the public adjustment of that plan will be. You know, as we approach 10 years and everyone's kind of speculative notion as to what the idea of ending, you know, such a vast goal. How do you plan on kind of addressing the public as we transition?
10 years. That's what we're working on right now. What I think you'll see from Road Home, we'll still be around. We're not going to go away after 10 years. Last year we did a lot of that kind of planning. We contracted actually with Rebound Solutions, who went out and talked to tons of stakeholder publics, our providers, you know, business owners, people from health, not the least people experiencing homelessness. And we kind of rallied around 4 key concepts that Road Home wants to be. We want to be the convener, advocate, innovator, and kind of the successor, or we want to be good at knowing what works, you know, moving forward beyond 10 years. What I think you'll see practically from an organization like Road Home is we do want to be a more nimble organization. We do want to have funds that we can open up for experimental or promising practices and pursuing those and seizing upon them to turn them from a promising practice, something that we kind of get a feel that works or informs us that works, that's evidence-based, that we know will stand the test of time. That's the kind of organization that I feel we want to be. Some effects of that, however, might be that some of those programs from early on that we've sustained through away, we need to do work now so that in a couple of years we can set them up to be sustaining themselves, you know, and so that we can loosen up some of our areas to invest in that innovation. So I kind of feel that's where we're getting, but that process certainly isn't done of kind of strategically thinking about beyond our 10 years. You'll probably see or be invited to a conference or something before year's end. That's what the mayor wanted us to do to help us think about, you know, after year 10. You know, where are the things, where do we place our chips or allocate our chips to, and what are the areas that we want to deepen our involvement in.
What?
Unfortunately, we have to wrap up. Out of time, but Senator Gonzalez had a final remark.
Well, they got her hand up. I have the badge, so I usually get to make the meeting. But I just want to leave you with 3 things. One is, if folks are interested in working on how we might grow the Housing Investment Fund, I'd like to leave you with that. Secondly, 2 other things that I think we should take their opportunities. One is, many of you know that in Colorado we've elected to do Medicaid expansion. So Medicaid expansion means that folks at up to 133% of the federal poverty level will have access to Medicaid. So I think that might be, I'm not sure if that's a low-hanging fruit, there's a lot of work involved, but working together, collaborating to make sure that folks who typically don't have access to health care will be able to access Medicaid. So I think that's going to take a concerted and a collaborative effort. And the third thing I'd like to kind of invite you to participate in is A&D. Remember A&D, Aid to Needy and Disabled? It's $175 a month. We met with DHS a couple of years ago to try to get, the governor then wanted to cut it. We kind of prevented that from happening. But there needs to be a discussion about getting that higher and also expediting how long it takes to get on SSI or SSDI. And so those are 3 things. I work in the world of tangible, if anybody wants to participate. And thank you, Randall, for inviting me. I love you, man. I'm going to take this back with you. Is that all right?
Thanks for doing
Less than 50.